Yes, this is Danny Pepperseed for World of Reggae and for Dancehall Vibes Radio. We're here in Amsterdam with, well, a real legend of reggae music, of ska music, of Jamaican music, Mr. Jimmy Cliff. Welcome in Amsterdam. How are you doing?
Yeah, man. All is well, all is good, and I feel good.
Well, you have been on tour, you know, for your new album.
Yes.
How's the tour been so far?
Wonderful, wonderful. Everything is, you know, curry, like we say. And I am enjoying it.
That's really great, you know. But before we're going to talk about your new album, The Rebirth, well, yesterday, the 6th of August, was Jamaican Independence, 50th anniversary. Well, it's also a little more than those 50 years ago that you started your career. And I would really like to ask you, could you tell us a bit about how those days were? That's 50 years ago, probably like a lot of the people watching this interview or listening to this interview, they never know about like Jamaican music them times. Mm-hmm. So could you tell us a bit, like what was the vibe in Jamaica and how those things were going back in those days?
Well, when I come into the music business, they were like, the music didn't take real form yet, that is called ska. It was just forming with people like Higgs and Wilson, of Joe Higgs was one of them, of Higgs and Wilson, Derek Morgan, and Monty Morris, Laura Lakin. So the music was just taking form. So it was very creative time. Everyone was always trying to find something new to express. And so I came into it, you know, and added my energy to it. And so it was an interesting and creative time that laid the foundation for everything that we're seeing now.
Yes, that's great to hear, because like actually like a little over 50 years ago you arrived in Kingston, and well, you recorded before some sound system operators like Count Boise and Sir Cavaliers, but then it was actually like somebody who operated an ice cream parlor and a restaurant who gave you your first break as an artist, like Mr. Leslie Kong. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Well, yesterday I did a show in London for the 50th anniversary of Jamaica, and who was on the show was Derek Morgan.
That's great.
So, Derek Morgan and I was talking about how things started with Leslie Kong. So yes, I did write a song called Dearest Beverly and walk into Leslie Kong ice cream parlor when they were closing, and sang my song, and Leslie liked it. However, he didn't want to just record me. He said, I like your voice. I think you have the best voice I ever heard in Jamaica. But you need to find Derek Morgan. Because Derek Morgan was a big artist at the time. So I found Derek Morgan and brought him to Leslie Kong. And that helped to make Leslie Kong made his first session. So that was the start of Beverly's Records. Then he also got Monty Morris. Monty Morris recorded a song called Cinderella Don't Cry. And yeah, that was it.
That was great. Can you tell us a bit about that first session? Which studio did it take place?
Well, it was, there was the one and only studio that was in Jamaica. That was Federal Studio. It was the only studio in Jamaica. And the way the recording took place at that time was everybody, there probably was like 2 mics. No, the singer had 1 mic, and all the other instruments from piano to guitar to horns and all of that probably had 1 other mic, maybe 2. But that's how it was. But it was, again, very creative and exciting, because no one can make a mistake, because if you make a mistake, you have to start all over. And this was the livelihood of the musicians. So if one singer coming and making a mistake, you have to go, because there was a line of singers waiting outside to come inside.
Oh.
So you had to, it gave you a sense of great discipline. You had to be ready with your things and disciplined and ready to go straight. So it was exciting, great training ground.
Yeah, definitely, you know, that would be a good thing to have that nowadays, you know.
It would be a good thing. Now they have some different things, so, you know.
Yeah. You know, during that first session you recorded this tune called Hurricane Andy. That was actually your first hit in Jamaica.
That was my first hit, but that wasn't the first session. The first session, like I said, was at Dearest Beverly and that, but I think that was the second session that Leslie Cameron that I did Hurricane that, and yeah, that was a hit, yeah, my first #1 hit.
Yeah, that's really great. You know, well, you did so many great tunes after, you know, the Kings of Kings, Miss Jamaica.
Yeah.
Well, of course, Derek Morgan, who you mentioned earlier on, like he did a tune called
Forward March.
Forward March.
Yeah.
That was actually like the theme tune for the independence back then in 1962. You know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So how does it feel for you, you know, to be in the business for so long? Because 50 years, that's not really like short, you know.
Well, it looks like 2 weeks to me. Why? Because I set goals, you know, I set high goals for myself. I mean, when I left my village in Somerton to come to Kingston, you know, I wanted to be the biggest artist in the world. I didn't even know how big the world is, because when I was growing up in my little village, looking after the animals, you know, cows and goats and all of that, I used to say to my cousins and brothers, you know, one day I'm going to tour the world, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to go there, and going to go. So I had high hopes of doing all of these things. So when I came to Kingston, I had the high hopes of doing that. But now, I have done some of what I wanted to do. So I have fulfilled some of those goals, but there are still other goals to be fulfilled. Yeah.
Well, now 50 years later, you released an album called Rebirth.
Yes.
Actually, like, I only got a copy like last night. I got a download copy to check it just before the interview. And when I listened it, I noticed that the sound is so near to that sound that Beverly's had, you know, in those early days.
Well, we went back and we got the same instruments that we used to use then, which probably cost so much more now. The same instruments, we recorded the same way, which is live, like how we used to record then. So we really wanted to capture the same sound, the same feeling. And I think maybe like 99% we got it.
Yeah, definitely, because there are some songs that I was really listening very keenly and I said, whoa, this sounds so remarkably close, you know. Yeah. Especially like the first song, Forgive Me.
That is World Upside Down.
Yeah, I heard that song and I said, oh, wow, how could they do this? You know?
Yeah, World Upside Down, yeah. And that now is originally was a Joe Higgs song. However, I twisted to suit the time, because the lyrics that I put in it now is to suit the time how we are today. And yeah, again, we wanted to capture the same sound and the same feeling, because maybe people from your generation who grew up with that music loved it, but this generation has to be introduced to this music to know the great value of the music that was and that still is.
Definitely. Well, could you tell us a bit more about the album? You know, for people who haven't listened to it yet, could you tell us a bit about your favorite songs on the album?
Well, Rebirth is about a rebirth of Jimmy Cliff's career, and also Jimmy Cliff as a man, and also a rebirth of the planet. So first about my career, like I said, I wanted to go back to the roots, because after I finished the Wonderful World, Beautiful People album that had on Vietnam and those songs, I switched and went to Muscle Shows and made another album called Another Cycle, which was completely different music. And a lot of people weren't so happy with that because they wanted me to continue on the same reggae vein. So at the back of my mind, I always knew that I had to complete that chapter. So I'm doing it now on this album. Therefore you have a song like Reggae Music, which I tell the old story from I met Leslie Kahn right up to 2012 now, and all that reggae music is doing. And that's how I tell the whole story of reggae music. So it's difficult to say I have one particular song on it that I prefer over the others, because a song like Children's Bread is also a song, very political song, talking about the state of how 1% of people control everything in the world, and not only material things but also knowledge. And because when somebody is ignorant, you can control them, but when somebody has knowledge and awareness of something, you can't control them. So it's all of these things, you know. Then there's a song about relationship called Cry No More. You know, family relationship, not just one-on-one relationship, but family relationship. So it's the album. Each song, the album is like a suite. You know, you step in on the veranda, then you step into the living room, and this is a bedroom, and this is a kitchen. The album is like a suite. So each song on it represents something. So it's difficult to pick one. And I think
I see.
Capture them. Yeah.
Well, one of the other remarkable things of the album is it's produced by
Tim Armstrong.
Tim Armstrong from Rancid.
Yes.
They are like a punk ska band.
Yes.
I think most of the musicians, or even all of the musicians, they are non-Jamaicans.
Yes.
But still, the way how they captured that vibe from the early '60s.
Yes.
Is so great. How was it to work with a different set of musicians?
So that's a remarkable thing, because you know, reggae music influenced punk music. And so to work with Tim Armstrong, who's coming out of a punk idiom of music, was difficult, because at least for the expressions, social, political consciousness, we share that. And they were all like connoisseurs of reggae. You know, so it was actually Tim's idea to get the same instruments that we used to use back then, and to record the things live like we used to use back then. So it was very easy working with Tim, because he was really into it, I was into it, and I think the result shows.
Definitely. Like, was it easy to obtain those instruments from back in the days?
Well, you know, being it's America, they could get them. I don't think it was that easy, and they are more expensive today.
Yeah, especially, you know, like the old analog stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, it's a great album, and well, you're currently on tour. Till when you're going to be on tour over here in Europe?
Well, I started touring Europe in May of this year, 2012, and then we took a break and we went to the US. Now we're back over here in Europe. We've been going all over from all the countries, maybe except for Russia. We haven't gone to Russia. But it's a place I'd like to tour someday. But here we are now in Amsterdam. I'm very happy. I know it's one of the strong reggae places, and we're going all over. And when we finish Europe, then we're going back to the US and Canada. And when we finish that, we go to South America. So it's really, we're kind of on a world tour right now, touring, promoting the Rebirth album. Okay, well, that's really great to hear. Well, tomorrow you have the show in Paradiso, Amsterdam. We're definitely going to be there. So I would like to thank you very much for your time and for telling us these wonderful stories about the album, and of course, like, you know, the information about, like, back in the days, you know? Yes, well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure. All right. Bless everyone.